Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. Today we're going to be talking about some big news coming out of the LCS. This is actually a little bit of an older story, about a month ago, but it is something that I haven't covered yet, and it is something that I feel like maybe flew under a lot of people's radars that I just want to bring attention to, especially as we get closer and closer to the start of the 2023 season. This is something that will be very, very impactful and very, very influential, not only this season, but going forward as well. But first, a word from today's sponsor, which is, of course, Prize Picks. This is daily fantasy made easy, and I've been telling you guys all month long, and I'm going to continue to do so, that this is the best, a perfect, whatever you want to say, time to get started on Prize Picks, because they have the 12 days of Picksmas going on right now. This is a new promo every single day from December 14th to December 25th, which of course we're in that window right now, so they have tons of promos going on. Today, December 21st, the promo is Christmas Trey. Place $50 worth of NBA entries, and you can win up to $1 per Trae Young point. So, essentially you're getting some free entries there, because Trae Young, he's a big scorer. He's going to probably put up a decent amount of points. You'll be able to recoup some of the, the money that you're putting in, which is a really, really awesome deal. It's a great promo. And even if you don't like that one, there's going to be a new promo coming out tomorrow. Again, like I said, it's an awesome time. If you guys want to get started on Prize Picks, check out the first link in the description below to get signed up. They're actually going to match your first deposit up to $100 for new users. And of course, they help support me, my channel, and my content. So thank you so much to them. With that being said, let's get right into this. What we're going over today is this article from LOL Esports. Again, this was about a month ago, but we have some, a little bit more recent stuff to talk about, I do believe, or same time period-ish, but they said, update to the League of Legends Pacific Championship Series. This is the PCS. This is the Taiwanese league, I believe, or I think it might be a couple countries like in that region. But yeah, the PCS. And you might be wondering, hey, what the heck does this have to do with the LCS? We'll get into that. So Riot says, as we approach our 13th season, we are humbled by LOL Esports' rise to unprecedented heights as the most watched esport in the world. As we look to the future, we're committed to building that foundation that's been laid over the past 12 years. And taking a multi-year approach to further grow and evolve the ecosystem. Our first steps were announced earlier today with the formation of the EMEA region, and today they want to outline an additional step down this path. So starting in 2023, the PCS will expand to include the LCO, the League of Legends Circuit Oceania, which again, this is Australia, New Zealand, that part of the world. The LCO will continue to play its domestic season in Oceania. However, rather than qualifying directly to MSI and Worlds, the top 2 teams from each LCO split will seed into the PCS playoffs and compete with the other PCS teams for a chance to represent the larger region at international events. Kind of weird, kind of strange. I don't know. I get it, taking some of these smaller regions, putting them together. Also, rather than having to give each of these regions a slot into, the international events where we end up with 2 teams who are maybe not super strong, trying to find the strongest one of those and putting them in the international events. It helps with, the setting up these events and everything. So I kind of get it, but also it's going to be a little bit weird because either you're going to have an OSH team represented or a PCS team represented. I don't really think the OSH fans are going to get behind a PCS team just because you combine their regions, or that a PCS fan is going to get behind the OSH team just because you combine their regions. You have cultural barriers, language barriers. I don't know. It just seems a little bit strange. It's a little bit of a scuffed kind of solution, in my opinion. We believe that participation in the PCS will offer a more competitive landscape for the LCO, provide richer opportunities for player development, maybe, and spark broader interest in fandom in LCO teams and players. Again, maybe. I don't really agree with everything they're saying here. I think it's a little bit of a reach. And I think the reasons why they're making this change, again, like I said, probably has way more to do with the international events and the slots and wanting to change formats rather than wanting to grow the LCO, or thinking that this is really in the best interest of the LCO specifically, because at the end of the day, why would they really care that much about the LCO? It's, a speck of dust compared to the LPL and the LCK and stuff like that, like they're real money makers. But whatever, residency status will also be impacted by these changes. This is the big part. This is where we start to get in the LCS. Currently, OSH players are considered resident players for import rule purposes in both OSH and NA. At the end of the calendar year 2022, every OSH player who has signed with an LCS or LCS Academy team at any point, including those signed between this announcement and the end of 2022, kind of interesting, will have the option to declare themselves as either a resident of the PCS or the LCS. This is a one-time option to minimize any disruption that these changes to the import rules may cause for players and teams. Going forward, OSH players will be considered exclusively PCS residents. So the OSH players who for the past couple of years have been NA residents, that is not going to be a thing anymore. The players who are playing in OSH, they will not be able to come to NA and be considered residents anymore. Now, at the end of the day, I don't think that's that big of a change. At the time when this rule came in, it was a very big change because Cloud9 had this like 17, 18-year-old, superstar top laner Fudge coming up, and FBI was also a beast at this time, and there were some real good, strong Osh players. But more recently, and especially as the region has lost resources and lost some of the player base and lost some of the young, real good players coming up, it hasn't really mattered as much. Outside of Fudge and FBI, we haven't really gotten that next wave of top kind of Osh talent or Osh players who have come into NA and actually made a difference. Now, FBI and Fudge have made a very, very, very big difference in NA, especially considering they have been residents. Now, if these guys would have been imports, they still would have had spots in NA for sure. Somebody would have taken FBI as an import and somebody would have taken Fudge as an import, but their team would have been weaker overall without being able to, import another player alongside these guys. So again, at the time this thing was changed, it meant a big deal. Going forward, I don't really think it is going to make that big of a deal, but it does mean for all these players, the guys like King and Destiny and Fudge and FBI, that they're going to have to decide whether or not they want to be LCS residents or PCS residents. Obviously, I'm assuming for 99% of those guys, they're going to choose to be LCS residents. But it is just kind of an interesting change going forward that, yes, the next wave of talent of Osh players, they will not be coming to NA, which I think is fine. I think that makes total sense. I don't really think it ever made that much sense why these Osh guys were able to come to NA to be residents. I get what was going on with the Oceanic League and its breakdown and all that stuff, but like, Osh always still had a league. They always still had teams getting sent to MSI and to Worlds and stuff like that. I also don't get why it would just be NA. Why wouldn't it be any major region? Or I don't know. It just never made a lot of sense why NA specifically would have ended up with a lot of these things. But yes, going forward, this is a very, very big, very, very significant change to the LCS. I know that the LCS Players Association, they tweeted out, LOL Esports recently announced the PCS ecosystem will expand to include the LCO in 2023. In addition to this change, residency qualifications have been updated for the LCS. Osh players that have been signed to an LCS or Academy roster, including those signed between, by the end of 2022, are able to declare themselves as LCS or PCS residents for a limited time. If player has the option to elect LCS or PCS residency, they must email this email. Any player who does not make a declaration by that time will have the residency set by LOL Esports for them, which is kind of funny and interesting too. But overall, just a very, very big change. We'll have to see exactly how this affects things going forward, or exactly what this means for different players and teams down the road. But again, as an LCS fan, somebody who covers the LCS, I did think this was a big change. It's kind of flown under the radar, so I at least wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of this. This is happening. We'll have to see how this plays out in terms of what this actually means for the PCS and Osh teams in terms of that playoffs, how big of a success it is, what it means for MSI and Worlds. But at the end of the day, I don't think this is a huge change for the LCS, but definitely cuts down on our overall player pool, overall talent pool. So that's not necessarily great, but it was probably an artificial, talent pool increase that we got in the first place that we probably never deserved. So hopefully that means more opportunities for NA players and development and all that stuff. Or maybe it just means, another sign of the LCS going downhill and dying. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But that's pretty much it for this video today, guys. Hopefully I catch you in the next one. Check out Prize Picks, first link in the description below. But until then, peace.